Hi, I'm Cautex, and this is my Shadowlands patch 9.1 Arms Warrior Quick Guide. This is a super condensed version of my arms guide for people who just want to know what's best and don't care to know why things are the best. If you want to know why I'm saying you should do something, I encourage you to check out the in-depth guide, which can be found in the card in the upper right. Anyway, let's get started. When playing an Arms Warrior, your goal is to manage your rage so that you can spend it as optimally as possible in order to maintain all of your necessary debuffs, not rage cap or rage starve, and then generate and use as many overpower stacks as possible to maximize the damage of your mortal strikes. Colossus Smash should be applied as often as you possibly can, and Bladestorm should be used whenever you become rage starved. Below 20%, you should be maintaining your important debuffs and then alternating between using Overpower and Execute. If you're running the Enduring Blow legendary, maintaining your important debuffs means that you should also be using Mortal Strike on cooldown. If you're not using Enduring Blow, then you should only be using Mortal Strike to maintain the Deep Wounds debuff. If you're in a 2-target cleave fight, then you should be using Sweeping Strikes as often as possible, and you should be using Whirlwind instead of Slam whenever Sweeping Strikes is down. As long as there's 2 more targets, you should also be using Bladestorm as often as possible, rather than simply for mitigating rage starvation. Though before using Bladestorm, if possible, you should try to dump your rage to avoid rage capping. If there's 4 or more targets, Whirlwind should replace Slam entirely, including during Sweeping Strikes. Your 2 best stats are likely going to be Crit and Mastery, with Versatility sometimes being a close third, followed by Haste. However, you should sim yourself because it can vary a lot. Your best single target legendary is Enduring Blow, and this is true regardless of what covenant you pick. For Domination Shards, the best set bonus to go for is the Unholy bonus. After that, you should get the Frost Damage Shard and the Blood Damage Shard. Gear with Domination sockets can only spawn on Helm, Shoulders, Chest, Bracers, and Gloves, and so if possible, you should avoid crafting your legendary on one of these slots so that you can get the maximum of 5 Domination Shards. As for talents, on single target fights, take Skull Splitter, Double Time, Rend, Defensive Stance, Warbreaker, Avatar, and Dreadnought. For AoE fights, you're going to use basically the exact same build, though sometimes it's best to take Fervor Battle instead of Rend, and Cleave instead of Warbreaker. Your best potency conduits, and also your best AoE legendary is going to depend on what covenant you choose to go. If all you care about is single target DPS, but don't care enough to pick the actual highest single target DPS covenant, then Venthyr is your best choice. For Venthyr, the best AoE legendary is Signet of Tormented Kings, and for both single target and AoE fights, you're going to want to Soulbind with Nadja, making sure to grab Dauntless Duelist. For your 2 potency conduits, you should be using Crash the Ramparts and Ashen Juggernaut. If you want to do strong single target DPS, have the best burst AoE DPS of all the covenants, or just want to have extra movement options, then Night Fae is the best choice. The best AoE legendary for Night Fae is Nature's Fury, but that's only true if the mobs are in the ground effect for the entire duration. So if there's going to be a lot of movement, then Signet of Tormented Kings will be the best AoE legendary. For single target fights, you should be Soulbinding with Naya, and making sure to grab Burrs, and then for AoE fights, you should Soulbind with Karain, making sure to grab First Strike. For your potency conduits, you should be using Crash the Ramparts and Destructive Reverberations. If you want to do strong single target DPS, provide consistently strong AoE DPS, and have lots of utility in Mythic Plus, then Kyrian is your best choice. Your best legendary for AoE fights is going to be Elysian Might, and then for single target fights, it's best to Soulbind with Pelagos and grab Better Together, and for AoE fights, it's best to Soulbind with Mikanikos and grab Hammer of Genesis. For your potency conduits, you should be using Crash the Ramparts and Piercing Verdict. If all you care about is being the real MVP, then Necrolord is the best choice as it provides the most net raid DPS. If you go Necrolord, your best AoE legendary is going to be Signet of Tormented Kings. For single target fights, you're going to want to Soulbind with Bonesmith Hairmere, making sure to grab Marrow Gemstones, and for AoE fights, it's best to Soulbind with Emony, making sure to grab Gnashing Chompers. And that's everything that I think that you need to know in order to successfully play an Arms Warrior in Shadowlands patch 9.1. I hope that this guide has been helpful for you. As patches, hotfixes, and new theory crafting discoveries occur and change what the best practices are for Arms Warriors, I will be making videos discussing and analyzing them. If you're confused about any part of this guide, feel free to ask and I'll do my best to help you out. Alternatively, tell me why what I've said is wrong and why my opinions are dumb. Lastly, I just want to say thank you for watching this video and subscribe for more.